In this video, I'm giving you a crash course on how to use Dodge Construction Network so you can find the best commercial construction leads for your business. I'm going to show you how to use Dodge. I'm going to show you how to filter the projects, and I'm going to show you my strategy that I use to pick the right jobs so you don't waste your time bidding. And as a bonus, if you stay to the end, I'm going to teach you how to get all these jobs estimated on autopilot. Yes, every single contractor in America does have an estimating problem. You can get the leads, but if you don't estimate them or you don't have time to estimate them, the leads don't matter. So yeah, it's kind of important. All right, enough talk and let's jump onto the computer. All right, so this is Dodge Construction Network. Dodge is a data company where they have teams of researchers where what they specialize in is getting you commercial construction leads. They put the project information, they put the company information, the contact info, everything here, sometimes even the plans. This is a really good way for you to find local projects. Here's the thing, Dodge alone is not going to win you projects. You have to combine Dodge, the power of the data, with a proven sales strategy like our strategy, where if you combine those two, you are going to explode your business. All right, let me give you a quick tour of Dodge since we're going to talk about how to use it now. All right, so in the middle here, you're going to see a list of all the projects, and this is based on the filters that we're going to put here on the left. And what you'll find is that each one of these, you're going to have the company information, the project information. Sometimes you're going to see the plans, like first of all, like let's open up this one, for example. Here you see all the contact information, or the project information actually. If I want to see the contacts, here I have the architecture firm, the owner, the engineers. I have, so for example, if I'm a GC, this is somebody that I would talk to, the architecture firm. I have the owner right over here. Here's all the contact information that I need to start pursuing this job. Then I could see if there's any plan holders. Maybe there's other GCs. Look, this is a GC. We need to find out if he won the job already, if he's just bidding it. He might just be a plan holder. Other companies that are associated with this project, we have the documents. So this one specifically, this one actually has all the plans. Sometimes they have the plans, sometimes they don't. The point is that this is really powerful because it gives us a lot of information about the project so we can start our prospecting. So I want you to think of it like a sniper, right? We're gonna put our filters and we're gonna target the jobs based on specific criteria that I'm gonna share with you in a second. What I wanna focus on is talking about the filters on the left, because this is actually how you're gonna find the right projects. So over here, you're gonna have a bunch of options. Published range, here is how far back you wanna see, last 7 days, last 30 days, last 90 days, year to date, etc., etc. So I like to go back 90 days, and I'll tell you why. Because a lot of times the projects that were bid 90 days ago or 60 days ago or a month ago, they haven't been awarded. Whether you're a GC or a sub, those jobs typically take, the sales cycle for commercial construction is a lot longer than for like residential or for some other industries. In our industry, small jobs or existing spaces type of jobs like retail, offices, that sort of thing, they typically award in 2 to 6 months is what I see, because there's not a lot of issues with financing. There's not a lot of issues with plan reviews. It's pretty straightforward, and boom, they get to start right away. Bigger projects or new construction or anything involving structure, site, that typically takes 6 months to a year. Huge jobs like multifamily type can take more than a year and a half to even be awarded or even start. So we want to consider that when we're looking at our published range, when we're targeting the types of jobs. And in a second, I'm going to show you my criteria of how to find the jobs. But first, I want to kind of give you the rundown of how these filters work. So published range, last 90 days, report types, I'm going to skip that. Location, obviously where you live. Actually, let's change this to Miami, because I want to see what's going on in my backyard. So let's go to Florida. Let's go to, I'm going to put Dade, and then I'm going to put Broward, and let's do Orlando area, which is, oh no, Palm Beach is good. There's a couple of orange counties across the country. All right. So right away, you can see I haven't done any filters, and I already see a bunch of jobs bidding coming up. I see jobs in the past. 1,255 jobs in the past that I could literally like scoop up, right? Those are potential jobs. But let's continue. So we put our counties. We're going to put action stage. All right. So here, this is going to depend on if you're a GC or a subcontractor. If you are a general contractor, let's start there. We're going to want to focus on pre-design, which is very high level conceptual budgetary stages. This is like when a developer or architecture firm is starting the process, right? Schematic plans, the early process. We have our design phase where we're in the design. Maybe the person bought the land, bought the space already. They're in the middle of their design. And then we have our bidding and negotiation stage. Okay, so this is when they're actively receiving bids for projects. Okay, if you're a subcontractor, we're going to uncheck these guys right over there, and we're going to focus on bidding and negotiating. Okay, bidding and negotiating is really where we care about, because at the end of the day, if you're a sub, nobody's going to care about you early on in the process. They're just putting together budgetary numbers. Once in a blue moon, you'll get approached by a GC that they say, hey, I want to get some budgetary numbers, and those are good jobs to get involved in, but we don't necessarily need to focus on those. We want the jobs that are going to give us money now. Another strategy would be, if you are a finishes trade, we could potentially leave construction checked, because a lot of times the sequence of construction, typically they'll award the rough trades first, the earthwork, the site work, the concrete, maybe the structure, the shell, that sort of thing, maybe the framing. But a lot of times they don't award the finishes till later. And a lot of that has to do with that there's a lot that goes to starting a project on the GC side, on the owner side as well, because you have to do the submittals, you have to do the paperwork, you have to do the contract, you have to do the billing. There's a lot of paperwork, and sometimes, like, obviously once they get the permits, everything's emergency to start. But in a lot of cases, they're not going to award the guy basically the drywall. The drywall is like the delineator of rough to finishes. Okay, so anything after the drywall, flooring, painting, acoustical ceilings, countertops, doors, all that stuff, a lot of times doesn't get awarded till later. Which means if the job is under construction and it just recently got under construction, that's okay, because guess what? We could actually visit the site and go talk to a superintendent. He might refer you to his project manager. As a matter of fact, one of my clients, his name is Steven, he was at a Starbucks one day having a coffee. He's in our membership. And he saw a sign for a building that's going up, and he remembered that in one of our coaching calls I had said, if there's a job under construction, those are good potentials, because you might be able to at least introduce yourself to the superintendent, maybe to the team, and maybe you can get in on that job or future jobs. So he actually did that. He met the superintendent, and it so happened that they didn't have the flooring guy yet. So guess what scope he bid for and won? The flooring. And guess what happened after that? There was another one of these buildings they were doing, and they gave him the framing, the drywall, the painting, a super sub package, where it was probably, I think it was like a $300,000 contract, because of that first initial conversation. Do not discount jobs that are under construction already, because those are great contacts. If somebody's building a project, they're probably building more. And that means they're probably good at closing. They're probably good at taking jobs into construction. Believe it or not, a lot of jobs, they don't get to construction. They get canceled. There's no financing. They can't meet in the budget. There's 1,000 reasons jobs don't start. If these guys have a sign, if there's a job going up, then it's worth pursuing. But actually, let's go back to the bidding stage, which is kind of like what you guys are probably going to care about. All right, so next is the types. I don't like to necessarily put too many filters here unless you're specifically looking for a specific type of job. So for example, I have a client, he's a stucco contractor. He says, I only want to do stucco for apartment buildings and hotels. I'm like, all right, let's find those. If you're a small contractor, or if you're looking for specifically retail, or if there for any reason there's a specific type of job, this is what you'll use to filter. All right, but again, I don't recommend you filter here. I like to filter later. I like to get all the jobs and kind of do it a little bit more manual. Next, we have bidding within. I don't really pay attention to that. Valuation. All right, this is very important, so pay attention. All right, here we need to be realistic. So let's put no maximum. Let's see what there is going on. Okay, so let's put it under, let's organize by valuation, highest to lowest. All right, perfect. If I am a small contractor, what are the chances that somebody is going to give me this $25 million job, $50 million job? Probably impossible, right? So you have to be realistic on what you are going to pursue. So what I typically say, if you're a one-man operation, you got to look at your history. What are the types of jobs you're doing? So let's say you're a sub and you're doing, I don't know, $100,000 jobs. The rule of thumb is you take the valuation, which this is the owner's valuation, and you're going to divide it. You're going to do times 10%, right? 10% of that is going to give you approximately, maybe 8%, approximately where your trade might come in at. And that's what you're going to bid at. And I'll tell you why. Because if you're consistently doing $50,000, $60,000 jobs, $100,000 jobs, nobody off the bat is going to give you a $500,000 job. You don't have the experience and you haven't done it yet for them to have the confidence to give that to you. So we have to be realistic on what we can get. Now, if you're a GC and you're comfortably doing $3, $4, $5 million jobs, we could go after those. So here we're going to start putting our filters. So let's say I'm a GC and I want to go after, I don't know, $1 million to $5 million jobs. Boom. All right, we have 3 coming up. By the way, I recorded this towards the end of the year, and what you'll see is you're gonna see less bidding in the next 15 days, in the next 1 month, only because towards the end of the year there are less jobs out there. Either way, we want to focus on the last 90 days because I guarantee a lot of these jobs have not been awarded. Just because the bid date on Dodge says that it was bid 3 weeks ago, it doesn't mean that they're still not receiving bids. This is for architects, for developers, it doesn't matter. There's a back and forth that occurs. It's not linear. They put the bid date, they receive bids, they don't like the numbers, they go back, they start getting bids individually from other different subs, put it together, and then there's like a back and forth. So that bid date is arbitrary. It's almost like the bid date, it's a requested date. I would like the proposals back by this date. So I don't want you to pay too much attention to that. If I'm a sub, let's say I want to do like tenant build outs, right? I'm gonna put 0, 100,000 to 3 million, right? That means the biggest job here for a sub will likely be about $200,000 to $300,000. Here we got an amenities clubhouse. That's a great job. Here we have a church facility, an Aldi's, an AutoNation. These are great. So here's a little bit of a strategy. If you want to start something quick, we always want a mix of long-term jobs with short-term jobs. And the short-term job is like a tenant build out, a retail, a store, something that's the structure's already built and we're coming in and we're just doing the interior. Or there could be some exteriors, but the point is that we're not starting from the ground. If you do new construction, those typically take usually close to a year for them to even get awarded. So just to give you an idea, you got to get a permit, so that has to go through the plan review. You have to get a loan because nobody builds with their own cash nowadays. Everybody gets loans. You have to get a loan. Typically loans in commercial, that type of thing takes 3 months, it could take 4 months. Value engineering, revisions, architects will come and they'll say they're going to try to start cutting costs, changing the materials, changing the layout. That's when you start seeing revision 1, revision 2, revision 3, or addendum 1, addendum 2, addendum 3, is because they're trying to cut the cost sometimes. Other times that you see addendums is because the plan reviewers will say, this doesn't work, change this, this, and this. And then boom, the architect makes the changes, sends it off. There's a long sales cycle in commercial construction. So new construction is gonna be probably closer to a year. Existing spaces are 6 months or less. Consider that when you're selecting your jobs. All right, spec division. Again, I don't like to put the filters here. This is dependent on if the researcher clicked the right boxes. Now, one of my strategies that I use is I use these jobs as the gateway, as the entry point, okay? If I wanna work with this company, sure, maybe I get lucky and I'll get the first job, but I don't really care too much about this job. I wanna focus when I come in here and I go to my contacts and I look at the GCs, let's say plan holders, here we go. I'm a sub, right? Right now I'm a sub. I want to contact all these people and I want to get on their bid list and I want to start working with them. I want to start talking to them about, hey, what can we do to work together? I'm going to start visiting their office. I'm going to start the sales process, the old school sales process, which I talk about in other videos. I dive deep into the sales process in my Construction Sales Academy, where if you want to learn professional construction sales, I'm going to put a link right over here. But essentially what I want to do is I want to use this job as the gateway to start working with these guys. Get on their bid list, start talking to them, start seeing what else they have coming up. I guarantee all these GCs, they have a bunch of jobs coming up that they're either about to win, they're currently bidding, that they're gonna win, or something. If not, they wouldn't be in business. Now, if I'm a general contractor, I'm doing the same thing, except I'm gonna focus on the design companies. The owner, right? So this Esprit at Avenir, I don't know who they are, but maybe they have other work, right? Best, I'll get connected with the architecture firm, which let's see who he is. Boom, right over here. Guess what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna get into my truck and I'm gonna go dressed to impress. I'm gonna visit the architecture firm and I'm gonna drop in and I'm gonna say, hey, my name is Daniel. I'm interested in the Esprit Clubhouse and Amenities project. I wanted to see who's in charge of procurement or who's in charge of the construction administration for this project or for you guys. Oh, that's gonna be John. Boom, a little shaking of hands. Maybe exchanging some business cards. It could help if you come with a nice portfolio, like a nice portfolio book. Architects and interior designers are visual people. They're used to getting like books and samples and things like that. So if you come in almost like a vendor, they're gonna pay attention to you more. Okay, so that's a strategy that I would take. If you just show up like, hi, my name is Daniel, I'm looking for work, do you have something coming up? What are you? You're a spammer. No, I don't have anything. I'll let you know. But guess what? They have 3 jobs just like this, just sitting around waiting. Do you see the difference? Hey, my name is Daniel. I'm interested in working on the Esprit Clubhouse and Amenities project. I was overlooking the plans, which are right over here. I was looking at the plans and it's a perfect job for us. I wanted to meet you guys. Boom. Different conversation. We looked at valuation, spec, division. We're going to ignore that. Construction type. Okay, so here, again, I don't usually put the filters, but like if you're looking for existing spaces, you would look at alterations, additions would be good. You can do interiors. Avoid the new projects, new construction. Okay. Ownership type, this is important. Private. So I tend to focus on private in my practice. Now, if you do federal, if you do government, if you do county jobs, you could check all these boxes if you want. Oh, actually, one of the filters I forgot to mention, when you go to project type, you want to click on see more. And this is my process. What I usually do is I deselect all, and then I'll check general building. So this is pretty much all the building types, and then housing. So anything residential that might come in, that pops up there too. But I make sure I uncheck utilities, engineering, unclassified. I uncheck these because if not, you're gonna get all that DOT stuff. If that's the type of stuff that you do, leave the boxes checked. All right. But if you're a GC, a subcontractor, you're doing building construction, you're doing remodeling, you're doing renovation work, you're not gonna care about an underground utilities type of thing. All right, so now you're an expert at the filters. And I've gone over a little bit of the strategy. I kind of started weaving it in there, but I wanna show you now what I'm gonna look for. So if I'm a smaller contractor, I'm gonna start looking for these smaller valuations, right? 1 million, 3 million. If I'm a sub, that's perfect. If I'm a GC, GC's valuations, so like a small project is $1 million or less, sort of, right? Some of you GCs watching might say $1 million is really small. Or some of you GCs might say, I wish I could get $1 million job. So you know what? The size of projects is relative to you. Let's say I'm looking for $1 million projects, right? By the way, one of the biggest successes I had in my career was with a company called City Construction. And the first job we did with them was a crappy demo job of the flooring of a bank. We wouldn't have taken that job because we were doing drywall, but we wanted to start working with that company. So don't discount those little jobs. So it turned out with City Construction, we scaled up the business where specifically with them, we were doing $2, maybe $3 million a year in work out of our $7 million. Okay. So don't discount small projects. You as the owner should be doing the prospecting, right? The initial conversations, the follow-up, right? We talk about follow-up in another video, but the follow-up can be done by one of your team members, one of your sales team. It could be an office manager. It could be a bid coordinator. But the initial conversations I recommend is you as the business owner. My process is I'm literally going to right click, open new tab, right click, open new tab, right click, open new tab, right click, open new tab. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to start contacting one-on-one, old school. I'm going to grab my cell phone, contact. And so if I'm the GC, we got AutoNation, we're going to call right here. Sometimes you have to be a little bit creative because like an AutoNation is going to have probably a construction department that's located in a different state, right? Here you have Castle's Design Group, Blake Segafredo. So probably I might start my search by talking to Blake. I'm going to call Blake, or if it's near you, well, I'm in Miami, so this is Houston. I'm not gonna fly to Houston and I'm somebody I don't know yet. Hi Blake, how are you? My name is Daniel. I'm a general contractor. I'm interested in working with you guys on the AutoNation project. What's the process to get started? Do you have a way to become an approved vendor? A lot of times these guys have some sort of pre-qualification criteria that you can actually go through. Pre-qualification forms, they look at references, they look at the jobs that you've done, portfolios, et cetera, et cetera. Some of these guys have risk management departments that they'll assess the risk of working with you. This is on the larger side. The big companies do this. The smaller companies don't really do it too much. Here we also have Davidson Design Studio. We got engineers. My point is that we want to get to the owner. The owner is the person in charge. Sometimes the architect does the contract administration, which is basically being the owner's rep on behalf of the owner. Okay. If I'm a subcontractor, I don't care who the owner is. I want to see who the plan holder is. So I'm going to go plan holder bidders, MRGC Group, Eric Forgione. We got Parkway Construction, Katie. So these guys are out of town, New Jersey and Texas. One of the criteria that I use is I like to focus on companies that are local to me, because ultimately the power in commercial construction is in your ability to get clients to become repeat clients. Okay, because when you start getting a lot of repeat clients, a lot of repeat work, it starts compounding, right? So let's say you get one client, let's say you're a subcontractor, they're doing a lot of work in your area and they give you, I don't know, $200,000 contracts. With 5 or 6 contracts, you have $1 million a year company. Okay, one company giving you 5 or 6 contracts, right? If you get 2 companies, easily that you're $2 million a year, okay? And then all you have to do, your mission should just be to find repeat clients. So one of the strategies that I use is we want to focus on local companies that we can go visit in person, because ultimately we are in an old school business, face to face, shaking hands. This is how we're going to ask somebody to give us a $200,000 deal. How are we going to expect them to give us a $200,000 project if we don't go visit them, if we don't see them in person? By submitting your proposal online, you're basically an anonymous spammer. Just realize that it's a very transactional way to do business. In order for them to hire you, they have to trust that you're the best person for the project, your price is the best, and that you can confidently perform that work either with your crews, make sure financially you can support that job. Those are all things that the general contractors consider. Same thing with the owners. When you go talk to them, they have to have confidence in you that you're going to be able to do their project. If I'm a sub, I'm going to call these guys and I'm going to assess, hey, these guys are out of town. What are the chances that they might actually have a chance to win this job? Out of towners, when they come to my area, they have to put hotels, Airbnbs, they have to put like per diem costs, they have to put a bunch of extra costs in there that inflate the price, which lowers their chances of winning a job. So we have to decide if it's a company we want to pursue. Now, if they are AutoNation's preferred vendor and they travel and build all their buildings, then yeah, let's attack. Again, we're not going to get repeat business out of it because AutoNation is not building a bunch of AutoNations in your backyard. Okay. And now we're going to do the same thing with Westcare, Village, South Pembroke Phase 2. We're going to go do Palm Beach Gardens, O'Reilly Auto Parts. Then we're going to do the same thing with AutoZone. Look, there's another AutoZone. AutoZone is expanding. All right. So I briefly talked about how to get your foot in the door, how to start talking to these guys, how to start talking to the GCs and the owners and the architects. There is a specific script based on the scenario that works every single time. And I actually put it in a PDF, very detailed, so you can follow that inside of my Construction Sales Academy. I'm going to put a link right over here and in the description below where you can get those for free when you join. So right now you can actually join for free. At the time of this recording, you could join for free. We have a community of over 400 contractors that are in there growing their businesses. We have our strategy, our entire A-Fair contractor strategy, where we teach you step by step how to grow and scale your business. And we have a weekly coaching call where you can log in, ask questions, and get guidance directly from me and everybody else in our group, because we have a ton of experience in there. So you can find that inside of my Construction Sales Academy, where it's free to join right now. I'm going to put a link right over here and in the description below. All right, so now you have the leads, you have the strategy, you have Dodge. Now we have a bunch of leads coming in. Now we have to estimate those projects. Unfortunately for us, we are in an industry where to prepare a proposal, it freaking takes forever. In most industries, you look up some sort of price list, you prepare a commercial proposal, and then you submit to your client. 15 minutes tops, right? But in our industry, to prepare an estimate, it takes hours and hours and hours and days and days and days to estimate one job. So most of our clients are working during the day. They come home at night. They're working on the weekends, trying to bid those jobs in the middle of the night. As a matter of fact, most of the signups that come to our website are at 2 in the morning. And because of this, I know that typically for most contractors, estimating is the wall. It's the issue that stops them from growing their business. So we created our unlimited estimating subscription that is designed for general contractors and subs so that we can scale you up. We'll estimate all of your projects, labor, materials, supervision, equipment, your profit margins, and all of the numbers are based on the zip code of your project. So the numbers are going to be extremely accurate and competitive. Plus, it's way cheaper than hiring an employee estimator. Typically, those guys cost $80,000 to $100,000 per year. We're way less expensive than that. So if you are interested in our estimating subscription, I'm going to put a link right over here and I'm going to put it in the description. At the end of the day, you can literally click a button and get your jobs estimated. You don't have to spend hours and hours and hours and days doing it. Let my team do your estimating for you so we can start bidding all these leads that you're getting, all these jobs. Let's bid them so you can scale up. All right, so you got the leads, you got the strategy on how to estimate on autopilot. However, some of you are gonna say, you know what? I need to do it myself for now, or I wanna do it myself because I wanna do it for whatever reason. In the next video, I'm gonna show you how to use construction takeoff and estimating software, and we're gonna look at, do you even need it? All right, so go ahead and watch that video.